I just don't even think she does. And explain the background to us, because she was asked at National Press Club about the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. What does it say, and how does it actually relate to the issues at hand here when it comes to protecting women's spaces and rights?
So the woman who asked her the question, Megan Paul, asked her a brilliant question, and it was basically about Anna Cody not meeting with women's interest groups that do advocate for single-sex spaces and how this fits in with her obligations to CEDAW. So the background on this, it's complicated and simple at the same time. Basically, Australia has a Sex Discrimination Act because we became a signatory to CEDAW, which is the Convention of the Elimination Discrimination Against Women. It's a UN convention. It was created in 1979. We signed it in 1983, enacted it in our law in 1984. Now, in 1984, there was nothing about men being women. They never thought to mention it because, of course, they didn't. Who would? Cut to 2013, when Julia Gillard's government did amendments to put gender identity into the Act. Now, in those amendments, they never mentioned trans women. Once again, they're not mentioned. It's just gender identity is mentioned. Then cut to more recent times when Anna Cody has intervened in Giggle v Tickle on the side of Tickle, saying that men who claim to be women are women, they should have access to women-only spaces, and she's relying on CEDAW for this. The problem is CEDAW is a UN convention. It has 189 signatories. For any changes to it, all 189 signatories have to agree. It has never happened. Men are not considered women under CEDAW. It is an utter lie to say that they are. There is one tiny sentence in one accompanying document that says "and other status," and they are relying on that other status to be trans women / men who claim to be women. If CEDAW intended men who claim to be women to be considered women in international law, they would have said it. They've had every opportunity to. They never once have. So at best, she is misleading the Parliament, the courts, and the media on this specific issue. She's relying on CEDAW. She is wrong about it. I'm also relying on CEDAW in part of my case because it hasn't happened. We are in breach of CEDAW in Australian law if we are including men as women. And as you said, she's not fit to be the Sex Discrimination Commissioner. It's why I think she should resign, not just because she doesn't know what sex is, because she is misleading 3 different institutions on what the convention that her act relies on says.
Look, and I think it's just extraordinary as well that the Sex Discrimination Commissioner doesn't know what the sexes are. I mean, it's just a basic function, really, of the job. It's astounding. Now, look, I've got to ask you this because it's been revealed 766 people in New South Wales have changed their sex on their birth certificate without gender affirmation surgery. This is, of course, under self-ID laws since July 1. Sal, of those, 496 men have changed their sex to female because the problem is it's that easy. But the point of this is that all of these men can now enter female-only spaces.
Yeah, there's a few things here. So first of all, Suzanne has done an absolutely amazing job in getting this information, and so all credit to her for doing it. Second of all, so it is quite humorous, aside from everything else, it's quite humorous that when these people go and change their birth certificate, the data on who does it is based on their biological sex. So it just goes to show there's absolutely no escaping biological sex. Then, yes, to answer your question, yes. All of these men, so 500 men in New South Wales, can now access female-only spaces. To be honest, any man can, because they can just claim it. The Sex Discrimination Commission, in my case, argued it didn't matter. Whether you have a certificate, whether you don't, nothing matters. They can just go in. So it's just the claim that matters. But if they've actually legally changed it, they can do whatever they want. They have the upper hand. We have absolutely no right to say no to them as women if these men are in our spaces. And the only reason they would do it is to go into women's spaces, because you don't need to change your birth certificate as a man to wear a dress, to call yourself a woman, to wear makeup, to do anything you think a woman does. You can do all of that. We actually do live in a pretty liberal, free society where if that's what your expression is, have fun. Do it. But to go into a female-only space, you're going to need the law. And so that's why they've done it. And that's why it's sinister and we're fighting back.
I just think it's extraordinary we're here in this day and age. But, yeah, we are. Sall Grover, good to catch up with you as always. Thank you so much for joining me on the show this evening.